Welcome and appreciate your joining us. If you enjoy the lesson at all, please post a like on it. It gives me some idea of what's going on. And for those who have been doing that, I really appreciate it, but you shouldn't do it unless you feel that way. So it's more of a reminder in case you do feel that way, and just don't put a like on it. But it does make a difference. So thank you. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And we are continuing with Parshat Va'etchanan, as you will see in a moment. And you should be able to see it now. So that's good. Again, this Moses trying with all his might to pass on what we would call an ethical will, that in terms of telling the Israelites, how to behave and not to lose faith, etc. And of course, these are realistic issues. They are. I mean, we see it around us, and how hard it is to remain faithful. Ironically, it seems that the more prosperous we are and the better off we are and the more blessed we are, the more we tend to just want to rely on ourselves and our creations and things like that, and move away from the transcendent appreciation of reality. At any rate, we'll go on. So Moses' words, Ve'etchem lakach Hashem, and as for you, God took, V'yotzi etchem mikur harbazel, and he took you out of the iron furnace, Mimitzrayim, from Egypt. Liot lo la'am, to be for him a people, nachala, as an inheritance, kayom hazeh, like this day. So it seems that Moses is telling them this unique relationship that the Jewish people have with God. Mikur, a kur is a smelter, something in which you smelt a metal. Ukli shemizakakim bo et hazahav. It is the vessel in which you purify gold. So, I just want to just reiterate the idea of taking them out of Egypt, that we can absolutely personalize it, that I think underneath it all, it has to do with the potential that we have to be released from whatever addictions we may have. And I suspect that everyone has to deal with some kind of addiction, and that it's only through God that we are able to be released from it, that God is the essential ingredient, you might say, in helping us be aware of that addiction and also freeing ourselves from that addiction. Because while I wouldn't limit it, the Exodus from Egypt, to that particular interpretation, I think it's a very powerful interpretation of what goes on in each one of us personally, that we have this potential. So onwards, Vashem hitanaf bi, we could say, but God was angry with me, was infuriated with me, al divrechem, regarding your words, vayishava, and he swore, levilti ovri et hayarden, that I should not cross over the Jordan, ulevilti vo el haaretz, and not to arrive, not to come into the land, hatovah, the good land, asher Hashem Elokecha, which the Lord your God, noten lecha nachala, which the Lord is giving you as an inheritance. It's interesting, of course, that we have the nachala, the word nachala here, and the word nachala in the very next sentence here, in referring to the land of Israel, and in referring to our relationship with God. We are God's nachala. We are God's inheritance, you might say, which I think has a lot to do with the devotion with which we approach the mitzvot. That in that sense, we are God's nachala, in that God can command us and we can respond positively as our choice. Hitanef, God was angered, nitmale rogis, he was filled with fury. Al divrechem, concerning your words, what are we talking about? Al odotechem, al iskechem. So he says what it has to do with when it says your words. It has to do on your account, right, because of what you were doing, and also your affairs, what you, again, another way of approaching what the Israelites were doing. And of course, we know at that particular point, when Moses struck the rock prior to that, they were clamoring about water, and Moses lost it at that point. So their clamor and what they were doing at that time, Moses's response cost him his ability to go into the land of Canaan, to actually be there. What's going on? Ki anochi met ba'aretz hazot, for I will die in this land. Einini over et hayarden, I will not cross over the Jordan. Va'atem, but you, Ovrim, you will cross over. V'irishtem, and you will inherit et haaretz, the land, hatovah hazot, the good land, this good land. And I think by good here we mean arable, because so little of the land around that area, if you've ever been out there, is in fact arable. It's very small area. So interesting, sweet comment that Rashi has here. Ki anochi met, etc. For I am dying. V'gomer einini over, and then it says, I will not cross over. And Rashi asks the obvious and good question: Me'achar shemet, if he's dying here, me'echan ya'avor. Why would they think he's going to be able to cross over the Jordan if he's dying in this area here? How's he crossing over? Why would he even say such a thing? It's not going to happen. Ella, however, what it means is af atzmotai, even my bones, in other words, my remains, einam ovrim, will not cross over. And remember, Moses had personally seen to it that Joseph's remains were taken up to the land of Israel. So Joseph's remains were buried I believe, in Shechem, if I'm not mistaken. But Moses, his remains weren't going to go over, and that's what he meant by saying, I will not cross over. So let's go on. 23. Hishamur lachem. Be careful. Shamor means to guard. In other words, guard yourselves. So if he's saying guard yourselves, clearly he's telling them something that unless they're on guard, it's quite possible that they will stumble. Pen tishkachu et brit Hashem Elokechem, lest you forget the covenant of the Lord your God, asher karat imachem, which he set up with you, right? Karat is to cut out, right? So describing the actual process of establishing a covenant and writing it and having an agreement, right? A contract. Vasitim, and this is, of course, you have to be conscious of this. Vasitim lachem, and you make for yourselves pesel, a graven image, tmunat kol, the image of anything, right? Something carved, the image of anything, asher tzivcha Elohecha, which the Lord your God commanded you. So, tmunat kol, he says, tmunat, the image of anything, tmunat kol davar, means the image of anything at all. Asher tzivcha Hashem, which the Lord your God commanded you. Asher tzivcha shelo la'asot. Just let's be clear about it. God commanded you not to make any of these things. That was the commandment, the nature of that commandment. Ki Hashem Elokecha, because the Lord your God, Eish Ochlahu, he is a devouring fire. El Kana, a jealous God. And I need to explain that. Sometimes people don't like, understandably, describing God as jealous. I would say that all it's saying is that jealous in the sense that if we worship some other an idol or some other god that's not Hashem. God takes that very personally, if I may use such words, and will do. It's like a jealous spouse, right? When one of the parties is unloyal, and that comparison is made. It's made by Moses elsewhere. It's made by many of the prophets, comparing the relationship of God and the Jewish people to a husband and a wife being faithless, and not being loyal, and the punishments following, the consequences following of that. So, Ale, going into the Rashi, Ale Kana. So he's explaining it too. He says Mekane Linkom. So he says he is jealous to take revenge, to the point where he will take revenge. And here's this French word, emportement, it looks like, in Belaz, and Eifer in the Yiddish. And I think, again, it must mean jealous, something like that. Mitcharet al rogzo, he stirs up his anger, lehi para, to take account, me'ovdei kochavim, from those who worship stars. It's a generalized term meaning idolaters, right? And li para actually has to do with holding accountable, something to that effect, that there has to be a payment when you do this. So, going on. This is actually a verse, I believe, these verses that we actually, I believe, read on Tisha B'Av morning, interestingly enough. So here in this Parsha Va'etchanan, which we're reading next Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, we have this reference. Ki tolid banim uvnei banim. When you give birth to children and grandchildren, children's children, v'noshantem, and you are long settled ba'aretz, in the land, v'hishchatem, and you act perversely, v'asitem pesel, and you make a sculptured tmunat, a sculptured image, tmunat, the image, the likeness of kol, of anything, v'asitem hara, and you act wickedly, be'enei Hashem Elokecha, in the eyes of the Lord your God, lahachiso, in order to provoke him. Venoshantem, Rashi. Interesting word. I think it's coming from the word yashan, which means old. So in other words, long enduring. And this is lovely. Ramaz lahem. Here Moses hints to them, sheiglu mimena, that they will be caused to go into exile from off the land, l'sfof shmona ma'ot v'chamishim u'shtayim shana, at the end of 852 years. Keminyan v'noshantem, which is the gematria. It's the gematria of the word venoshantem. So we've got 852. Let's see. So let's just take the nun, which is 50. Okay, so 6 is Vav, 56, 62, 362, 416, and this would be 816, and let's see, and this is 856. 52, right? Because 6 and 6 is 12. That's 62, 362, 412. 6. This would be 812. 800, and the samach is 60, so 800 and, okay, I must be counting it wrong, but I'm trying to think because I'm getting 62, but that must be wrong. Interesting. Because he says 52. So I have here, my arithmetic is not good. So I'll take the easiest numbers, 400 and 300 is 700, 50, that's 750. And this is 800. This is 860. This is 60. There's no, I don't know. I must be doing something wrong. Okay. I thought I got it right before, but so this is 300 and 4 is 7. This is 8, 8. This is 8, 860. And all right, forgive me. I am not doing well on my addition here. If you see me doing something wrong, please let me know. I'm sorry. Vehuiktim. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Very good. And vehuiktim, but God anticipated veheglam lesof shmona meot v'chamishim, that God caused them to go into exile at the end of 850 years. Vehiktim shtei shanim, and he did it earlier than the 2 years, levenoshantem, to this gematria of venoshamtem. So I'm still, of course, reeling at the fact that the addition didn't work out. Okay. Kadei shelo yitkayem bahem, so that the rest of that verse wouldn't transpire. Ki avod tevin, because he goes on to say, you will surely perish. And because God did it a little earlier, that particular prophecy did not get fulfilled, and so consequently, the consequent prophecy didn't get fulfilled either. Vezehu shenamar, and this is referenced actually in Daniel chapter 9. Vayishkud Hashem al hara'ah, Hashem hastened the evil. Vayavieha aleinu, and he brought it upon us. Ki tzadik Hashem Elokeinu, because God, in fact, the Lord our God is righteous. Staka asa imanu, he actually, this is Rashi's summary here, he actually performed an act of righteousness with us, shemiher la'ahavi'ah shtei shanim lifnei zmana, that he caused to hasten it 2 years before its appropriate time. So this is probably a good place for me to stop in case you want to comment. So I'm going to mark it here. And I don't know why I wasn't able to get that gematria right. Interesting. So we'll start here tomorrow, and I'll stop the share. Okay. Any comments you want to make on the record? Okay. All right. In that case, I will stop the recording, and we can discuss these things off the record if you like. It is, well, I think that's motivational talk, right? That Moses is trying to motivate the Jewish people because he is concerned about the tragedy that's going to ensue. So, to be continued.